We are starting a brand new series today, and it's called This Critical Journey. And what we're going to be doing for the next 6 weeks is taking a look at all the different phases that there are in this spiritual journey of really knowing God. Last week, we talked about, as we looked at our vision for this year, that the absolute most important thing for all of us is that we would know Christ. Knowing Him is the most important thing. But what you'll come to find is there's no formula for that. What happens and what works for one person doesn't work for the next person. There's no way to kind of just push a certain button and make this happen. It's a little bit of a mystery as you walk with Christ. And not only that, but you'll also find out that it isn't just something that you'll find all these different phases of it. Sometimes it's exciting when you first start, and then sometimes you got to figure out, how do I know Christ when I've been walking with Him for 5 years or 10 years? Or what's it mean to find Him in the first place? And so our goal in these next six weeks is to look at these 6 different phases, and I guarantee you that you'll probably find yourself. Can you say guarantee and then probably at the same time? Okay. I probably better to say probably. I guess that probably you're going to find yourself in one of these weeks. And when we hit your week, you're just going to know it. It's going to really resonate with you. But one of the great things that's really important about doing all 6 of these weeks is you also can it'll really help you, I think, learn and understand where other people are at in their journey. And that allows you to give them much grace, because you can go, oh, that's where they're at and that's what they're going through. And so today we're kicking it off with what we're going to title the phase as Captivated. And it's kind of the first thing that happens with God. And to bring someone, I have a friend, a real dear friend of our family. Many of you who are part of K2 know her. And I've asked Jamie Fitzgerald to come up and share just a little bit. So if you could welcome her, give her a warm welcome, take away all of her anxiety. Get her up here. Excellent. All right. Well, Jamie, why don't you just start off and just kind of share with people a little bit of the history of your spiritual journey. You're good. We love Jamie, right? Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I guess to start off with, I grew up in a home that was surrounded by Catholicism as a child. I grew up in a small rural town and grew up on a ranch. And it wasn't a huge part of my life, it just was a part of my life. I was involved with Catholicism up until I was around 15 years old. And then I left to go away to boarding school. And then there was a 5-year gap where I didn't have any religious influence in my life. And then when I was around 20 years old, I decided to go traveling, and I left for Canada. And
where are you from?
I'm from Australia.
Oh, really? I thought it was Texas. I was struggling with it. Okay.
And then, so when I arrived in Canada, I was just really hungering for God, and I didn't know what that looked like. And so when I first got there, I saw a little Christian bookstore across the road, so I decided to go over and check it out, and I brought myself my very first Bible. Then within approximately around 2 months, I met a girl who invited me to her church. And I was involved with the church for around about a month, but it ended up being a cult. So it was just a really bad experience. And in leaving that cult after that month, I thought I was going to hell. I really thought I was going to hell. And so I really struggled with that. And so then there was another period in my life where it was around about another 5 years. It was up until 2005, actually. And through that time, I just went through a really dark time in my life. It had been dark prior to that because of my childhood and what I was surrounded by as a child. But it was a real time where I just really felt the presence of darkness. And during that time, I was very suicidal. I had suicidal thoughts all the time. I didn't want to be alive. And it was just hard. It was hard to want to live anymore. And so I don't even know how to explain it. It was just a really hard time in my life for up until around 2005 when I spent a summer in Jackson Hole where I worked. And I always saw God in nature and just in creation. And so I spent a lot of time by myself there. I did a lot of hiking and biking and just the things you do out there. And I ended up going, I saw this little article on the billboard that said Cowboy Church. And I thought, wow, that's cool. I come from a ranch. Maybe I can go check this out. So I went to the church one time, and the guy that was running the church there, he would do a sermon, but it would involve animals. So he'd do a service with dogs, and then he'd relate it back to God, and he'd use horses. And I went one time, and then I thought, okay, I'll go back and give this another try. And so the second time that I went back, he was doing a service about fear and his fear of God and his fear with his horse. And it just rang home to me because I grew up horse riding. And that day I just found myself just in tears. And I just kind of fell apart. And that was the day that I gave my life to Christ. And even still today, at that point in time, I didn't know what that looked like, what it meant. But something in me desired to know this God of creation at that time.
And what was that like? What was kind of just the experience right after making that decision?
I think just there was a softness that started in my heart because I'd been such a survivor for such a long time, and just I had such sturdy walls up around my heart, and I still struggled with suicidal thoughts, but there's something changed, and I don't know what that was at that time. Looking back, I can understand a little better now, but it was just, it was. But
a softening, I like that, a softening began.
Mm-hmm.
And then you found yourself in Salt Lake City, and somehow found this crazy church, K2, and decided to come here. And you've been on a journey now with us for a couple years almost. And why don't you just share just kind of what you're feeling now? What's going on right now with you and God?
I don't know if I can explain it. I can't.
Yeah. When I asked Jamie, she came over yesterday, and we were sitting on the couch, and and I looked at her and I said, so what's happening between you and God now? And as soon as I said that, she just, this smile just hit her face, and she just beamed. And we just sat there, and we just looked at each other with these smiles on our face. And I said, if you just do that tomorrow, that'll be fine. Because it communicated, because I know Jamie, and I know it's kind of been going on, and that smile communicated more than words ever could about just some of the newness and some of the freedom that God's been getting you. But as she said, even to me yesterday on the couch, she's trying. She goes, Dave, I really can't explain it. See, when you get captivated, anybody ever been captivated by something before? It is really hard to express in words what you feel. But do you want to try?
I really feel like God's romancing me. That there's just an intimacy that I don't understand. And the healing that he's done in my heart and in my life through the people he's put in my intimate circle and how they've loved me. I feel like for the first time my spirit's dancing, and it was crushed for so long, and that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome.